Good evening, everyone. This is Pradeep, Ambassador of Change from GETI, the Global Education Training Institute of Lucknow. We are the premier institution in India and in several parts of the world for training teachers and principals. And we have many in-service and pre-service programs. For more information on this, please go to 740-840-1000. Right now, you're on our disruptive education platform provided to us by our mentor, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. And on this platform, we have met with more than 1,500 educators from India and all over the world. And today, we have for you His Eminence Archbishop Ambassador Professor Micheal Olusegun Ogedengbe. He's a PhD. Sorry, please pronounce it correctly because maybe I got it wrong. He's a full professor from Lifehouse Bible Institute on the Joy Plateau from Nigeria. He is the primate of Lifehouse Ministry, registered with the UNDESA and CAC, the Chancellor of Lifehouse Bible Institute, registered with CSC and UNGM. He is an eminent scholar, a full professor, an elite professor, and has produced 2 elite professors and 4 professors. He is a member of the International Diplomatic Cooperative Organization and the United Nations Volunteer Awards and recognitions from various places like the Arab Emirates, United Arab Emirates, India, Philippines, Brazil, Vietnam. He's a DPIAF Book of the World Records and KJ Toki's OTT platform, International Peace, Art and Poetry Forum, and Nobel Peace Builder Prizes. He will be speaking to us today on quality education. Thank you, Your Eminence, for being with us, and over to you, sir. I think the Archbishop is having some problems with his Wi-Fi, but I'm sure he'll be with us presently. Sir, if you can hear me, please carry on. He'll just be coming back in a little while, so please bear with us for a little while. Thank you.
Greetings, Able Excellencies. Greetings to you all, to the organizers of this GETI, all Able Excellencies and all viewers. I would like to, I'm talking on the topic quality education. It is Nelson Mandela that said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And John Darwin said, if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. And as it stands also, another definition by Mayor Amstel Rothschild, she said, give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes it law. Then there's another definition by His Eminence Archbishop Professor Dr. Micheal Ogedengbe, which says quality education. He defined quality education as the information between the learned and the unlearned, which makes the learned earn respect from the unlearned. The United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goal number 4, which is quality education, actually make reference to ensuring that children go to school. Every child go to school. But we are talking of quality education. Now, the challenge we are having right now is that how do we talk of quality education, especially looking at the goal number 4, United Nations Sustainable Goal number 4, we talk on quality education, every child should go to school. When right now, as it stands, children can barely go to school. With the crisis going on all over the world, we all know that the global pandemic has affected the educational standard all over the world, educational sector all over the world. Teachers are having their own challenges, pupils are having their own challenges. At the same time, we're talking about quality education. When a parent finds it hard to pay for his child's school fees, how can there be quality in such education? Because we are looking at it from a broad perspective, so that even our youth who today will become leaders of tomorrow will be able to know what to do when they get into a place of power or are put in positions where they can affect the educational sector globally. Now, as it stands, a lot of kids are going to school. Now, the parents are struggling to even afford to pay their school fees. How can such educational standard be qualitative? As we all know, so far so good. Many children, while they are in classes, they are being sent home. Even in my country, Nigeria is ranked 120 out of 136 countries in the world in the primary sector. And as it stands now, most kids who go to school are being chased away from classroom and they are being sent back home to their parents while lectures are going on. How do we talk of such quality in education when what is being taught, they miss? And then also, what about those who are in school, who, while the lecture and classes are going on, as it stands, their parents could not buy them the necessary writing materials, such as textbooks, exercise books, even notebooks, some things they need to write, even crayon, color pencils. Some even in higher institutions, they cannot afford to buy the necessary writing materials. How do we produce quality graduates, quality educated people? We're talking about quality education. And when we talk of education as saying the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world by Dr. Nelson Mandela, if that education is already faulty, how can it become a powerful weapon? It may be a weapon, but not powerful enough. What are we talking about in this state when we talk about quality education? Like what His Eminence Archbishop Professor Dr. Micheal Ogedengbe says, that quality information is quality education is the quality information between the learned and the unlearned, which makes the learned earn respect from the unlearned. For example, we have a lot of wards who graduate out of school, and as it stands, they are all moving on the road. Some of them are so jobless as it stands right now. You have somebody who is a PhD holder looking for a job. How does he pass that quality knowledge he has in his mind to the next generation while he's still roaming the street? This is happening in my country. And I'm sure it's not only in my country alone, it's happening in other countries of the world. And where we have people with first-class degrees working as mechanics. We have people who have first-class degree in accounting working as a salesman in another country where he pays peanuts. How can he bring out the great knowledge he has acquired in the higher institution? We're talking about a situation whereby in my country here, in one of the states, I think Oyo State precisely, where they say people with PhD, and we know PhD holders, go to lecturing in university, because that's just a question you can get, but now are teaching in secondary schools. Is that not degrading enough? How can we talk of quality education? How do they pass that knowledge they have to the next generation? How do they bring out their best in the course of teaching? And that's why I would say it is a quality information between the learned and the unlearned. Today, we have situations where those who don't go to school are more economically empowered than those who went to school, not because they choose to. There's a scenario in my country that happened. We all know a child will go through the primary school, secondary, university, of a father who has his own word. Two of them precisely, two brothers. And as it stands, one went to school, the other did not go to school. So the one that went to school is learned, and the one that did not go to school is unlearned. Now, after graduating, people are celebrating the one who is learned because he went to school and he has a lot of information in his mind. And each time they talk in the community, they talk about him as a person who is brilliant. They talk about him as a person who has changed the economic situation of their community. They praise him so much, they hail him so much that he's doing so much for them. But suddenly, after all this, he came out as a prof, and now he's more, he's advanced in education. And suddenly something now happened in the future. Their father now passed away. Now it was time for burial. As the burial was going on, suddenly the younger one came up. He is rich. He went to learn a trade. And as a result of the trade, he was able to food a lot of it. He became a multi-millionaire. But the lecturer is a professor, is any salary. And in my country here, sometimes lecturers are not being paid. If you can Google it right now, you find out that even ASU, which is the academic body in Nigeria, here in my country, they are even on strike right now. They are still negotiating between the government. So many students are at home, university students, except those in private sectors. Those in the government sectors, many of them are still at home. Now, ASU is on strike. So they are not well paid. They are not well paid. They don't have enough salary payment. We're talking about quality education. Now, at the end of the day, as it stands, it is time for burial. And then, before you know, they ask for money for the burial and they say it's running in millions. The professor stand up to speak, and then the younger one shut him down because he said, we are talking about money, not just you talking things here. We are talking about money, cash. Before you know it, at the end of the day, since it results to financial resources, the younger one stood up and made a lot of statements and dropped money. The professor who is learned could not drop such money. That moment, he loses his respect. Even from his younger brother who is unlearned, he loses his respect as a prof, though, even from the community where he's being respected so much as an enviable body. That is why it says it must come to that fact where quality information between the learned and the unlearned will make him earn respect. If you are a graduate and you have gained so much academic knowledge, and yet it cannot translate sometimes into economic value or moral value or social value, how can that education become quality when what you have learned at the end of the day, you cannot transfer to the next generation? Imagine teachers who are roaming the street looking for jobs. How can they talk about quality education when my country is still ranked 120 out of 136 countries in the world? We're talking about a situation where it's dilapidating. That is why Sigmund Freud said education is a task which teaching children to conform to a normative set of socially approved behavior by Dr. Sigmund Freud. We all know it is a sect, meaning a child should control his instinct. Right now, as it stands, we are going into a state of degradation. The standard of education is degrading daily and every day. And a lot of people are asking, what is next? Because right now, students who go to school don't have jobs. So the parents are asking, after all the training, what do you have to offer? The student himself who has gone through, in my country is 6334, that's the educational standard. 6334, the educational system, 6 years in primary school, 3 years junior high, 3 years high school, then 4 years approximately in the university or higher institution. After going all through this, yet it cannot translate it. No provision for you to teach the next generation what you have learned. And we are talking that if we must talk about quality education, it must be seen. We have a scenario in my country where something happened practically also of a professor in mechanical engineering, and he has a faulty car. Do you know he went and got a local mechanic to fix his car? And I remember what the local mechanic was saying, who has a workshop. He said, imagine this man is a professor, yet he cannot fix his car. What is he teaching in the school? You see, that's a mockery, trying to show that the educational sector is faulty. And of course, the other people were laughing. What we are saying in essence is that if we must talk of quality education, it must begin from the grassroots. So the future generation should pay more emphasis on the fact that we need to have more qualified, learned people in places of authority. Like in my country here, I thank God for my president, who actually the vice president of my country is actually a prof in law. That's a good one. That should affect the educational sector. But then, what about the governors in my state? How many of them have PhD holders as commissioners? How many of them have people with quality education relevant in key position places? What about the chairman of our local government? I am not saying, of course, there's an educational requirement for them to attend to those offices. What I'm saying is that how many of them have them as commissioners, even special advisors? How many of the PhD holders are working in places, in certain positions, where they can even advise the governor on what to do? Today, senators in my countries are earning money more than even professors. So tomorrow, how can they respect such institutions? That is why there can be strike. That is why there can be negligence. That's why even if they ask for buying of equipment to further education in the country, nobody will put interest. I'm not talking of my country alone. I'm sure it's happening in other countries of the world. So the standard of education is dropping everywhere. It's dropping. Do we talk about the war that is going on right now without making reference to Ukraine and Russia? War going on. Even in my country, there's a group called Boko Haram, which are saying Western education is prohibited, is forbidden, which is affecting the educational standard in my country. We have people who are roaming the street, where senators, if maybe they are learned, some of them, of course they are learned, but if maybe they put in so much interest in the educational sector, I am telling you, the quality of education will increase. But as it stands, the world is just looking. Teachers are stranded. I believe the people that should have been more paid are teachers. But today, some of them are less paid. Even people who did not go to school, having their PhD, are earning more than them. So right now, they don't value it. You tell a child, go to school, tell you for what? Some will even go to school, they drop out along the way. Why? Because the quality of education has fallen. If we must improve our educational quality, we must look at the fact that all of us, including myself, all hands must be on deck. Let's come to a situation where professors become president of nations. Let's come to a situation where professors become ministers. Not just picking somebody and say you are a minister and then the person doesn't even know. Imagine somebody who has a PhD in education and then they now ask him to go and be a commissioner of health. That's the situation we have in some countries, where we have people who the position they are occupying, they don't fit in. So how can they promote the quality of education in such areas? Today we have quack doctors, we have quack engineers, we have quack, everything is quack. Because why? The standard of education has dropped. Because the quality information that is coming from the teacher has dropped. Sometimes what the teacher needs to teach is not available. Do you know there are places in my country and in some part of the world where pupils who take classes actually sit on bare floor? Imagine a child who is sitting on a well-seated chair in a good environment, and then the one who is sitting on a stone and is receiving lecture. Is it the pain of the stone he will be thinking of, or will he be thinking of the situation, the teaching that the teacher is giving him, or the present predicament he's going through? We have situations in some states, including my country precisely, where even children who do assembly, national assembly, imagine during assembly, they are standing in between floors because rain fell and the rain has gotten above their knee. How do they enjoy quality education in such environment? If we must talk of quality education, we must do everything it takes to make sure that the standard of education improves, not just in theory, but practically. That's why I keep saying we must employ the standard of pragmatism. We must be pragmatic in our educational sector and in our educational system. Everything we are doing, we must improve it. So many people in my country who are senators, who are dignitaries, who went through school Today, most of them, their students are schooling abroad. How can they improve the standard of education in their own country? How can they go as far as doing all they can to improve the standard of education, even in other countries? But today now they are paying huge sums of money. If they invest those money in their country, it will be better. If we are saying our children must develop instinct, educational instinct, we are also saying the fact that they must come to terms to understand that there's no ready available job anywhere right now. They must come to understand that what they learn in their school, they must be able to put it into practical use. If they are waiting for a white-collar job to manifest the quality information they have acquired from education, then it will be so frustrating enough. Because right now, joblessness is going on everywhere. Even in America, I remember the other time as a result of the pandemic, so many people lost their job. And we have PhD holders stranded dying of hunger. Somebody with quality for other system of learning. We have people who have acquired even their BScs, yet still roaming the street looking for a job. Why? Because things are not going according to plan. If we say we have quality education, it means I must not be thinking of a ready-made job. I must think of what I can do with what I have learned. Thank God for people like Bill Gates, who they said they didn't finish school, but they have proved a lot of people wrong. That is quality information. That is quality education. So for those of us who have graduated, who even have our PhDs, we should do better. We should do better. We should be able to earn our respect from those who are unlearned. I am not saying those who are unlearned, it is their fault. But I'm saying that for the fact that we are privileged to go through our primary, our secondary, and our universities or higher education, like in my country, the other one we call polytechnic and institutes. For the fact that we're able to go through this thing, automatically we must be able to prove that it is worth it. Not by at the end of the day, we are still roaming the street, going around looking for such people to prove what we need to earn by our degrees. For example, there are degree holders who are earning peanuts. There are people who are BSc holders, they are being paid 10,000 naira in my country, in Nigerian naira. And I believe some people are earning less than that. There are situations of people who have their BScs and masters, but are selling what they call gari. It's a local meal in my country. Some are even selling foodstuffs like rice, beans, not in large quantity. I'm telling you, in retail. How does that translate to quality education? When the one who didn't go to school passed in an XUV, why the one who didn't go to school has a private jet or even owns a private airline? Why the one who didn't go to school now has a business, a conglomerate? But you that you said you are learning, you are still depending on the next available job, roaming street up and down. How do we prove that we are learning? Until we are able to stand out, then the quality information we have, the unlearned will be ready to listen to it. The world is changing. The globe has changed. And we all know the pandemic has affected a lot of things. But still yet, some of us are breaking through. That's why I thank God for GETI, Global Educational Training Institute, who are bringing this up to enable us to speak the truth and speak our mind and speak to the next generation. In the fact that we need to understand, we must bring out our best. That's why when we are in school, we don't sit down and play. We sit down and learn. And then whatever we are learning, we must make sure it translates into physical reality. Today, as the stake is, a lot of people are committing suicide. Why? The quality information they have is not pragmatic. In my country, on NYSC in my country is a one-year service course you do after you graduate from your university. So it's a youth service, like rendering a service to your country. An NYSC holder who we believe has gained quality education was caught in armed robbery and was asked, why did you do this? He said because he can't afford to accept peanuts. It's not well paid. Today we have people who have degree holders. Some even finish their BScs. Some are master degree holders, but engage in robbery. Why? Because they have not acquired quality information. In our educational sector, let's teach them how to put what they have learned in their various institutions to practical, and not just go as far as saying, well, we are teaching you and we have learned. No, how do you put it into use? How do they generate sometimes economic value? Sometimes how do they generate political value? Things are failing, but there is still hope because we are learned. We know. So, but we must be able to put what we know into practice. The quality of information is good. Quality education is necessary. Every child needs to go back to school, and take it from me, education is still the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. But it must be qualitative education. And then we must be able to also go as far as moving from dependency to independency. If a parent asks a child, I have trained you from the university, now what do you have to show for it? Then can the child say, I have learned quality education? So the parent is saying, where's the education you have learned? If the friends, their peer groups, who didn't go to the same school as them, who didn't acquire the same educational standard as them, is now asking them, oh boy, what are you doing now? Meaning, are you gainfully employed? What industry have you opened since you are more learned than us? And he's saying, I'm looking for a job. Things are spoiling. But I am telling you, as it stands right now, we are moving upward and we are going upward. That's why when John Doe say, if we teach tomorrow as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. And definitely we must change the way we are teaching in our educational system because we trust God for a better tomorrow. I am His Eminence Archbishop Professor Dr. Micheal Ogedengbe. I believe that what I have asked you, you gave up questions, please feel free to ask. But I'm telling you, we can make the necessary change. I believe the educated, if put in the place of power, will change the world and bring out the best in the world. That's why sometimes I post a lot of things on social media, because why? I want us to know that education is still power and is still relevant. But all our political leaders must stop discouraging the educational sector by not paying teachers good salary, by not buying the necessary equipment for education, or not buying what the teachers require for, or paying the teachers less than is necessary. Sometimes we celebrate what teachers did at what expense. In my country in those days, when they are saying Teachers Day, you know the teachers will go out, they go into marching, they celebrate. But today when they say Teachers Day, sometimes there's no even celebration. Sometimes in some parts of the world, sometimes some few states that do it, the other ones don't do it. And I'm talking for my country. I believe it's happening in other nations of the world. We must place great value on education, and not just on education alone, but quality education. All hands must be on deck. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. That's what I have to say. I'm sure I've spent more than 30 minutes right now. Hello, Your Excellency. Are you there, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Eminence, for that talk on quality education, much needed. And good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. And before we leave, I request you to watch our detox of our disruptive literacy movement by Global Dream, an initiative by Dr. Sunita Gandhi since 2014. This is to ensure everyone's participation by a people's movement in helping India achieve total foundational literacy and numeracy. Each one teach one, and those of us who can afford to teach more than one should be doing that to ensure a certain amount of gap, bridging the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And good evening, everyone, and see you again tomorrow. And thank you so much, Archbishop Ogedengbe. I'm sorry if I am not pronouncing your name properly. For that talk on quality education, much needed. Good evening, goodbye, see you again tomorrow.